Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to GoLeopards.com. I'm Gary Laubach, along with John Leone, and shortly we'll be talking to head coach Kia Damon, as today is National Signing Day across the United States, and obviously an exciting day here on campus at Lafayette College. But Kia, before we talk about the future, let's talk about the very near future. You're going to open up some basketball on Friday night as LaSalle will come here to the Kirby Sports Center. The game can be seen on the Patriot League Network and on GoLeopards.com. Talk a little bit about the game coming up on Friday night.
You know what, I'm really excited. I wish that we could delay the start of the season about a week and a half so we can get some more practices in, but I know the girls are really excited to start playing against different competition more regularly. We've had about 5 weeks or so underneath our belt to practice, install a new system offensively and defensively, and I think it's been very well received.
How are they responding to the new system? Obviously, for a lot of these players, especially the upperclassmen, Kia, it's been 3 coaches in 4 years. Yeah. So it's a challenge for them, I'm sure.
You know what, I will say this, we've kept things simple, but at the same time, we have given them lots of freedom to play within their individual skill sets, but also putting that in a team concept. So they get to work on a lot of things that they've been practicing over the summer, and we're keeping them in their strength areas. So in terms of adjustment, that part of it's fairly easy. It's just more so positioning and terminology.
Before we get to the new recruits, let's talk a little bit about the recruiting process.
Yes.
You came in probably a little bit later than you would have liked, so you had to get on the road very, very quickly. I noticed that you have a player from Canada, a player from Florida, from New Jersey, New York, so you certainly got around in a short period of time.
You know what, we got to credit the staff with that. From the moment everyone got on board, you know, we hit the recruiting trails, burning up the phones, talking to our contacts, really trying to identify players before we went out in July that we thought would fit the things that we wanted to do, both from an offensive and defensive standpoint. And then once we got out in July and were able to see some of the new players live and kind of assess where their skills were, we were able to forge some great relationships pretty quickly. And then once they got here to campus, it was a very easy sell.
Talk a little bit, Kia, obviously the Patriot League's a little different animal than either Penn State or Cincinnati, for that matter, for Millersville where you played. How has it gone in terms of identifying kids that fit the mold of a Lafayette student athlete?
You know what, that part of it's been pretty seamless. You know, you talked about Penn State and Cincinnati. At those 2 institutions, we were recruiting high-level students as well. So that part of it really wasn't a challenge. And I tell people all the time, there are tons of smart girls who play basketball. And so we wanted to go after them and bring them in here to Lafayette and really open up our doors to them and their families and show them what we have to offer. And we're very fortunate that the 4 young ladies that are going to be joining us next year, you know, accepted the offer.
Well, let's start with those 4 young ladies, and to me, perhaps the most intriguing is Naomi Ganpo. She's out of Florida, out of Canada, Ontario, Canada. She is 6'2", and she's kind of new to the game of basketball. We'll look at some of her highlights. Good size, gets up and down the floor. And boy, her learning curve is going to be a big one.
No, I think Naomi's going to be pretty special. As you kind of watch some of her clips, she can score on the low post. She can even take it to the elbow and do some catch and shoot jumpers. And you even saw a few clips where she put the ball on the floor. Now that footage that's being shown here, I think it's about a year or so old. So even her development is farther along than what that video even shows. I think she's going to be a force to be reckoned with in about a couple of years. Coach Natalie's very happy to have that kind of size and explosiveness and athleticism to work with.
Yeah, she seems a little raw, but as you say, new to the game, and that just makes her ceiling that much higher. I guess my question would be, not having Gary and I don't know her, a big part of her development will be, does she love the game? Do you get that sense?
Yep, she's a sponge. Whenever we call her, it's you know, she's number one. She doesn't answer the phone, not because she's busy, but because she's in the gym. She has trainers. She's doing workouts. She's working on her strength, her conditioning, things of that nature. So you want kids that love the game and are willing to invest those extra moments, extra dollars into their development, and she's definitely a kid that fits that category.
When you read her resume, she sounds like a perfect Lafayette student athlete. She's a great student. She does a lot of things besides basketball on her high school campus, and certainly averaging about 20 points a ball game, she can do both.
Yeah, you'll see that across the board, not only with the players that we recruit, but the current students. They're very involved on campus. A lot of them, you know, give their extra times to social causes, things of that nature, and I want to recruit young ladies who want that experience. I want them to get involved with the community in which they're, you know, learning in and serving.
Yeah, I loved what I saw on film, but as Gary said, I've been here a long, long time, and I think it's very important, Kia, that we continue to get those kinds of kids, because the experience, certainly at a place like this, extends well beyond the basketball
Absolutely.
court.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Next up, we're going to go to Florida, Orlando, Florida, where Giselle Havas will be coming to the Lafayette campus next season, a 5'10" guard, 6-year varsity player playing at a unique situation at Lake Highland Preparatory School. You really have to like her. She puts points on the board.
Yes.
She's going to be a 1,000-point scorer before she gets out of there. She has a lot of energy.
Yeah, and that's what, the initial attraction. Giselle was a kid that I was aware of when I was at Penn State when she was very, very young. So I still have very good connections with the Central Florida Elite AAU program. And her coach actually reached out to me a couple moments after my press conference ended and said, hey, I have a perfect kid for you to look at. And so all of that worked out. But Giselle's a great kid. She does a number of things. You talked about her ability to shoot the ball from 3. She can put the ball on the floor. I think an underrated part of her game is what she's able to do with getting deflections on the defensive end with her length and things of that nature. And so with Coach Tom's help and tutelage, I think we'll get even more mileage out of her defensive prowess to go along with what she's doing offensively.
Yeah, I really liked her versatility. I had her kind of penciled in as a kind of a combo guard. I think she shoots the ball well enough to play the off guard, the shooting guard position. But she's a deceptive ball handler. I saw her find people, and I think in your offense, I've seen your offense a couple of times now, and you need those kinds of creative, smart girls. I think she's one of those kids.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. I mean, this year she's going to get even more development, because for our high school team, she's going to play a little bit more point guard. So as you just mentioned, when she comes in, she will have a wealth of skills that she can draw on to implement within our system.
Your system has people going up and down the floor at a very rapid pace. So actually pointing someone out as a point guard, probably not as important to you.
Yeah,
you got to get where you got to get.
You're spot on. We will have a point guard per se, but all of our guards and even our forwards can handle the ball to help us get up and down the floor quickly. So we want to have as many ball handlers as we can. That makes it tough to press us, and we have great decision makers. So that's kind of where we're going from that angle.
Yeah, when I was looking at the recruiting class as a whole, it's almost the norm these days to put numbers on players, and I've seen your system, and I think your system kind of eliminates that. You got to know how to play. The point guard isn't a person who just dribbles but doesn't shoot, and the two guard's not a person who shoots but doesn't dribble. They've got to be versatile, and I think Giselle really fits that mold.
Yeah, if you really pay attention globally to what's going on in basketball, it's becoming positionless, and you have post players by height who play on the perimeter, who dribble. You have guards by stature, strength, who can go inside. So that's the way ultimately we're going to build this team, that we can play lots of different ways depending on what our strengths are.
Well, that's half the new class that's coming in, so let's move on to number 3, as that will be Nicole Johnson. She's out of East Brunswick, New Jersey. She is 5'6", averages about 15, 16 points per ball game, a couple rebounds a game, 4 assists a game, a good all-around basketball player.
Yeah, much like you see with Sammy Stippa, that grit, that toughness, that fight, Nicole embodies those things as well. She's very skilled, and she impacts the game, not only with her ability to shoot the ball deep from the perimeter or get in the lane and dish to the post players or kick it out to her shooters, but what she does on the defensive end, she's like a one-woman press. And ultimately, you want, if you're going to have small guards, you want them to have those kind of impacts on their opponents.
And she's the one player that I saw that would be classified as a tone setter.
Yes.
In other words, she's the player that can make her mark felt on a game in so many different ways, but especially from the point guard spot. But she's a terrific shooter. I saw her mechanics. She can really shoot the ball.
No, she shoots the ball extremely well. There's some intangibles sometimes when you go out and watch kids play. And when I watched Nicole, it was very clear to me that she's a kid that you win a championship with. I don't know where you put her on the floor, but having her on your team makes you better. And that's really what I wanted to go after. She has some dynamic leadership skills already. She's very confident and assertive, and you don't find that very often today.
As we move on to the final player who will be coming to Lafayette next season, it's Michaela Wilson. As I watched her, she's out of Fairport, New York.
Yes.
As I watched her, to me, she seemed like the most versatile player that you have gotten. She rebounds exceptionally well, scores exceptionally well. She's going to be a great asset.
Absolutely. We were after versatility when Anna Tazinski graduates in terms of having a big, strong guard who can maybe play multiple positions, go inside a little bit if you're playing small, or play on the perimeter. That was something we really wanted to address. And Michaela is perfect for that. She drives it, she rebounds, she's physical, she's accustomed to playing in the post. In high school, she's going to be a wing for us. But when we want to play smaller, she can go inside and give us a whole different dimension in terms of spreading out our offense.
If she can get her game to that next level, which every expectation is that she will, those kids at in the women's game at 5'10", who really don't have that position, she's physical, she loves to be around the rim, they sometimes pose the toughest matchup for the opponent.
You're spot on. You're spot on. And especially as we talked about before with positionless basketball, there will be opportunities where we could have forwards on the perimeter and she's inside posting up the guards.
You know, the evolution of the game is funny, Gary. I don't mean to interrupt, but I worked for a guy here 30 years ago named Butch Van Bredikoff, and in those days we'd go watch players, and he said, I don't want a 1 and I don't want a 2. I said, I want a 1.5, and I don't want a 4, I want a 3.5, which meant that those guys are hybrids. They can play, and the game is seeming to come full cycle, and I love watching your team play.
Yeah, it's been fun so far, so we get to unveil it to the public on Friday.
In summary, you pick up 4 players, each kind of versatile enough to play a lot of positions, but you have also filled almost every spot on the floor. So you have to be really pleased, I would think, with your first recruiting class.
Oh, I'm thrilled. I'm very thrilled. I think when you look at the returning players we'll have next year, the experiences that they'll gain this year, their internal confidence and just everything, the growth in their game, and then you add this group onto it, I think we're going to be building for something very special in the near future.
John and I can't wait to get started and see you on the floor. We'll have our first game with you in just a couple of weeks.
Yes, it'll be
Good
fun.
luck on Friday night.
Thank you. Thank you.